We have with us in the studio today Pastor Adetokunbo Emmanuel, the president of Grace Mission International, who is also a public commentator. You're welcome to Sarah TV, Mr. Pastor Emmanuel.
Thank you very much.
Kaduna State has been known to be a center of crises, religious crises, but recently we've seen the rebirth of a bill, the Religion Preaching Regulation Bill in Kaduna State, which was passed by the House of Assembly few hours to their rounding up. What do you think about this? What's your take on this bill?
Well, like so many people have raised their voices against it. I think it's basically against any basic human right, of those people that the bill, affect directly. I think that here in this country we still have what we call right of association, right of freedom of religion, freedom of expression, and all those basic human rights. They are fundamental human rights. They are non-negotiable. I understand also that there's no absolute right anywhere. Where certain rights ends, that's where responsibility starts. But when I looked at that, I think it's an infringement on people's right to associate freely and to move freely and to practice their religion and all that. So all those there's no way you want to look at it that will not, raise that flag that somebody's right is being infringed on. Right of movement, right of association, right of free speech, and all that. And when you have that, there's no bill there's no law that you will pass, that will go against those basic things and will be acceptable to normal, in a free society. You can't, there's no way to argue it. There's no way to, pamper it. People tell you, okay, we have to regulate things. Of course, I believe there are things that you can regulate, but there are things too that are difficult to regulate. You understand that? That when you begin to regulate certain things, it begins to, make life, different from what it was originally meant to be. Yes, you say, well, what about all the crises that have been happening in Kaduna State? Maybe that's the reason why this is happening. Maybe I should ask that in the last 4 years, what crisis, what religious crisis will you say will warrant such? Probably I don't know. But probably I'm not aware of it. But I know that even in the last 10 years, hardly have we seen, like we used to see, those religious crises. But what we've been seeing in Kaduna State in recent times are pure ethnic, I don't want to call it ethnic cleansing so that people won't start feeling, well, what are you saying? But we have seen that whole villages are being ravaged by bandits that you could not account for, people that you cannot lay hold on, that this is the person who did this and all that. So the crisis in Kaduna State now, which I feel should be faced, scarcely by whatever authority, should be those ones, not primarily the religious issues that have been so quiet, over the years. You understand that? There are times when these things were really hot and it was like, but it seems as if we have moved past that stage now. Okay. And that puts a lot of question mark on why, this issue is coming up now. You understand what I'm saying?
This bill has been in existence in Kaduna since 1984, which was enacted by then military Governor Commander Usman Muazu, which was tagged the Regulation of Religious Preaching Law of 1984. So the bringing out of this bill now, how many years after? 2019.
Okay.
And this bill, it has been at the floor of the House since 2016.
Yeah.
So 3 years after it was passed. So many people have said this bill is biased.
Of course.
So why do you agree with that?
I agree with it. You know, you raised it now that it has been since the days of Governor Muazu, 1984. 84 till now. How many years are we talking about here? You know, that's about 35 years.
5 years, yes.
You understand that? Now, we knew what was happening back then that could warrant, you know, trying to keep things in order. But you agree with me also that between 1984 and now, we've had a lot of crises, you know, before, you know, such things, you know, become something that is not too common, you know, that incessantly, even to the beginning of this political dispensation, you know, when all those things, you know. But you agree with me that not one day had any, you know, administration of Kaduna State deemed it fit that, okay, let's revisit all those crises that happened. You know, there are, you know, committees set up to look into the causes and all that over these years, but, you know, nothing had come out of it. No one person had been punished for killing people of other religion, you know, other religion extraction. Not one person has been tried, you know, to say, okay, people lost their houses, churches were burned, business places were burned, homes were burned, people were killed. Nothing. The executive or the legislature of Kaduna State, you know, between then and now, never for once came up to say, okay, let's, you know, conclude this. People died. These are our citizens who died. What do we do? You know, who did this? What should be done to people who do this? Even if all you want to do is, okay, people who did it, just say sorry. Just appease the relations of the people that were killed in cold blood. Nothing. And we think that is right. Either it was religiously inspired or whatever. You don't just shed blood. Blood matters. Lives matter. And so, to just come up with this on the grave of that, you know, then of course, you know, people will ask questions. People will wonder, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to justify, or you want to take, you know, you want to, how am I going to do it? You want to legitimate or legitimize, you know, those riots. You understand that? You want to legitimize the persecution of people of religion. Do you understand that? Maybe that's what you want to do. All right. That, okay, you want to make people feel justified for killing people in cold blood because they don't believe in what you believe in a secular state. Excuse me? Because sometimes the way we think, I understand that some people don't care about public perception. They don't care. You know, you just want to do what you want to do because you have the power to do it. Now, in societies that will develop in every facet of it, justice is crucial and it's important. And that is why we're talking about this. the protection of lives, the protection of people's rights, should be paramount in the mind of any leader. Not just so. For people whose churches were burnt down, for people whose relations, were killed, when they look at this bill, all they want to say is, well, there's no reprieve for us. And it's like this is coming now to actually, label, those same people who are being killed, as, people who should not even express themselves. Because this is, when you look at it, you have issues about people moving into the state to come and preach, having to be licensed. You have people who are even resident in that place, to be able to preach, you have to be screened. Now, if I have to be screened before, irrespective of the people you put together, you even can, or JNI, Jumat Nasril Islamia, the government cannot dictate to these people, should not be the one authorizing those people to vet their own people. If ordinarily those organizations already have their, code of conduct, you understand that? Before you bring them into this committee, they already have the way they manage their people. And these organizations are there for you to liaise with if any of their members are not, are contravening any known law. Because, of course, before we get here, there are laws that control speeches that are basic, fundamental in any society. You don't need any new law, okay, to say that I shouldn't incite violence. You don't need any new law to, deal with slander. You don't need any new law for all that. And the government shouldn't be the one that will now control the religious systems, the religious, associations. Once you begin to do that, because I don't see how the governmental committee, the government, the part of government there who oversee the committee government form to oversee these two bodies and all that. I don't see how these two bodies will tell you, I want to do something that is contrary to what you have in mind and you agree. And that's a kind of control.
Talking about the control, we can see that since the rebirth of the new bill, the two major religions in Kaduna, the Christianity and Islam, but it seems that it's only the Christianity that are complaining about the bill. Why do you think this is so?
Well, you see, in Kaduna State, you understand that I don't know the demographic of religion in that place, but I feel that the population of Muslims, could be a little higher than that of Christians. Okay, and placing that scenario against the backdrop of what's happened in the past, you look at it that it's possible to think that maybe this bill is going to restrict the Christians more than the Muslims, because I feel that if it's going to restrict you, if you feel that this bill is a little bit restricting to you, you have a right to say so. You understand that? Mm-hmm. So if you're not saying so, it should mean that you're comfortable with it, and the person who is saying so is the one that feels I am being restricted here. You understand that? So I understand that. But I think I've heard also some Muslims, talking about this. Okay, say, excuse me, because ordinarily, let's to even, bring it down to the barest minimum. Either I'm a Christian or I'm a Muslim, it's not really the issue. The issue here is that there are certain things that are difficult to regulate without crossing the boundary of human freedom, human rights, freedom. You understand that? So if we understand it that way, it helps us to be able to deal with it. Because ordinarily, you can't tell. You really can't tell how this law is going to be implemented. Of course, it is put under the Nigerian police. All right. And now people are clamoring for state police. We're going to bring it down to other. How do you do it? And then, the issue of licensing people to preach, to share what they believe in. And then we can stretch it. What constitutes preaching? You understand that? Do I have, I can imagine a secondary school boy talking to his friend about what he believes. You understand that? Are we saying that boy needs to get a license to be able to tell his friend something? Do you feel that a little boy in church, or just an ordinary person in church, okay, is told, today you are leading Bible study, and he stands before a congregation to lead Bible study? Are you telling me he needs a license to do that? Okay, in my home, I share with my children, I share with my household God's word. Does that constitute preaching? Do I need a license for that? So are you going to license every man, every woman, okay, to be able to preach? Or am I contravening a law if I have to preach? I have to talk to my wife about God's word. I have to talk to my family about God's word. I have to talk God's word to people that I work with. That constitute preaching already. And I have to be licensed for it.
But do you think, sir, this bill has any iota of solving the religious crisis in Kaduna?
Sir, it is, to me, I see it as the government taking over the crisis. As in now, taking over the perpetration of the crisis. The essence of the crisis. The essence of the crisis is to shut people up. Is that not so? That's the essence of the crisis in the first place. That, okay, these people, I don't like your religion. Okay, you are constituting a nuisance to us. Therefore, we are not giving you a right to practice your religion here in this space. And since you decide to do that, a mob rises up, took laws in their own hands to, attack this particular religious group. You understand that? That is the crisis. That is the crisis. All those bloodshed and all the crisis that we've had, that is the crisis. But now, since the aim is to shut these people up, okay, now a law now comes up and says, okay, don't worry, you don't need to do that. We can do this by law. Do you understand that? We can do this by law. So you will have to tolerate us by force. You have to shut up by force. And if we don't shut up, we send you to jail. We have to limit your movement, limit your what you say, limit where you say it. You understand that? So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Because I've listed things down here right now for you to see how the implementation. Now I understand that the implementation of all that will not, the implementation of all that, they won't arrest people from house to house. They may not do that. But I know that there'll be arrests. You understand that? That law could be pulled out any moment when you have a particular person you want to deal with. Okay. And then you could just deal with that person. Do you understand that? Okay. But a law that is not that perfect. Okay, let's look at it. There was this woman evangelist that was preaching one morning and that was killed in Kaduna State there. Some people were arrested and then, I don't know, and then they were released again. Acquitted. That woman died and it was like, it's right for her life to go. You understand, things like that. That's what justice does. Because when something that you're supposed to bring to justice, you know, the kind of judgment you're supposed to bring, when it does not come, you legitimize that error. You understand that? That error becomes, you know, a standard error. You know, it becomes right. Okay, this is what should be done. And if this is done, nothing will be done. So it is, I don't see it. Of course, it may, I don't even see how it works. Because if I have to obey that law, you know, to its extent, as simple as it looks, that means, because we need to define what constitutes preaching. We need to define it. Is it having a program that you define as that? Okay, maybe Sunday services or Wednesday services. You understand that? Or prayer meetings. Or maybe prayer meetings are excluded. You understand that? And you know the way these things run. Anybody does it. You know, a church, you could pick any brother to lead a prayer meeting. Okay? You could pick any brother to lead, you know, a preaching service. You know, to preach in a service. So how do we handle that? And these are the fundamentals of the practice of our faith. So I don't understand it. Maybe, of course, the explanation, you know, backing this up, okay, to tame religious crises and all that. Maybe some people come from outside the state to come and incite people, you know, to kill other people on religious basis. And so we need to curtail that and all that. I don't know. But look at it, for instance. Are you telling me that somebody with a license can still not come into town and incite violence? Now he has been licensed to do that. Because he will tell you, this is exactly what my religion tells me. If you don't believe in this, probably, you know, you should harm them or kill them. Take over their lives and all that. I don't know. But if this person is licensed to do that, what are you going to do? Will the license tell him not to do what he wants to do? That's why I believe this is not the answer to it. The answer to it is for government to maintain law and order with the laws that have been on ground.
So I was going to ask finally, what do you think Governor El-Rufai can do to stop religious crisis and at the same time not bar freedom of expression as well as right of association?
It's very, very simple. Now, when I say very simple, people will think I'm being simplistic, that leadership is never simple. I understand that. Handling human beings are never simple. And that's why we make laws. Okay. And I think, but at the same time, people must live their lives. Laws were made so that people can live their lives. Laws are not made to stop people from living their lives. You understand that? And there must be a separation between state and religion. I mean, it has to be clear, both in intent and in what we do. We want to stop religious crisis. First of all, visit all the crises that had happened. Let's study those crises intelligently. Are you with me? If people were being provoked, let's address it. If people could not control, their anger, let's address it. These are issues. These are fundamental issues. You understand that? It is not a case of, let me make one law that, because it still will not control it. Let me tell you, for instance, a mob, you can't control a mob. Once a mob rises, who are you going to arrest? You understand that? A whole mob starts off from a religious center and, move en masse into a marketplace, onto a community, start burning down houses and start killing people. Who are you going to arrest? So we need to intelligently study, those past crises. If there are people who have been implicated, because I don't think you need a new law to tell us that thou shalt not kill. I don't think you need a new law about that. I don't think you need a new law against arson. You understand that? I believe there are laws that are on ground, either at the state level or the federal level, that handles arson, murder. You understand that? There are laws on ground that, slander, defamation of character, and so many other things, other laws that are on ground already. Let's enforce those laws. And let it be seen, let it be clear to all people that these laws are being enforced fairly. I know people work with emotions. You understand that? That feel, okay, you should be a Christian, you should be, you understand? Things like that. That we are being persecuted. There are emotional cries about persecution. I understand that. Okay. But it has to be clear to any reasonable mind that the execution of the laws that are on ground, okay, are, done in fairness, even if it's against you. If it's against Christianity, for instance, if a Christian had done something wrong, it hasn't got anything to do with him being Christian or not. What is wrong is wrong. He needs to face the wrath of the law. Okay. But it has to be seen that this is the way it is. Not that we hide and we do things without considering some people, and some people actually feel they are being haunted. Now, we don't do that. You don't handle crisis that way. You handle crisis by, justice, by visiting people, visiting things that have been done wrongly. When we do that, and people know that you are going to stand for justice, and people know that they cannot do wrong and go scot-free, they do know you cannot kill people and be exonerated. You cannot burn people's houses and be exonerated. No matter how provoked you may be, you cannot just go out and be killing people on the streets because they are not members of your religion sect, because they are not members of your tribe. When people see that you can't not do that and not face the wrath of the Lord, everybody's going to sit up. But chaos is it when people don't when you don't deal with, issue of justice in a place where there's no justice, there'll be chaos. People are going to misbehave. People are going to do anyhow. And because a law is being enacted does not mean there's justice. Just that there's a law there is not equal to justice. That's why the legislature and the judiciary are different arms. You understand that? Okay? You can make 1,000,001 laws. But like we say, we need peace in our society. Justice is key. And we don't need new laws to deal with the basic issues that we are dealing with. If people are speaking evil about other people, we already have laws. If people are burning houses down, we have laws to deal with it. If people are killing others, we have laws that deal with it. You understand? Even noise. In Lagos now, we have, that. We have, laws against public disturbance, against noise pollution. You understand? So if you start a church and you put your horn speaker out there and you are blaring, okay? Law enforcement agents can come and close down your place. So it's okay. Do you understand that? And when you have done that to 2, 3, 4, 5, you discover that you hardly find such things happening in Lagos anymore. That's not a relief. I know when that law came in, some people were like, oh, they want to do this to us. It's nothing. We don't want noise pollution. That is not, it hasn't got anything to do with it. There's a law on ground that said no noise pollution. It is not enacted because of a church. It's not enacted because of a barber shop. It's not enacted because of anybody. It's just that we don't want noise pollution. If it's a school that is doing that, we shut it down. If it's a barber shop that is blaring something, we report it. And if it's a church, why not? We don't want noise pollution. It's just like waste disposal. Okay? Waste disposal. Is it against a religion? Of course not. If in front of your church, waste is piled up, you're not paying for LOMA, you're not taking care of your environment, and relevant authorities come to shut it down. That's not religious persecution. It hasn't got anything to do with it. It's a basic law. You understand that? And those basic laws, they handle every single thing. We don't need any other extra law to take care of some of these things. There's nothing that law in Kaduna is going to do, in fairness, that there are no other laws, either in the federal or in the state, that will take care of it. What are we afraid of? We're afraid of people fighting on the street. If two people are fighting, for instance now, are we going to make laws, laws against ethnic clashes? You understand what I'm saying? Are we going to make laws against ethnic clashes in different states so that these people will not attack these people? There are laws that are against violence. You understand? Laws against public disobedience. You don't need to, tag it with anything extra than what it had always been. You understand? Remember the issue of in the US concerning what do you call it? Terrorism and the rest, the opening of Adetokunbo Bay and all that. People were like, no, try these people in regular courts. You understand that? No need for any special court. There are laws on ground already that deals with these issues. Let's enforce those laws. If somebody comes to town to cause trouble in your city, arrest him. Let him go, take him to court. When he gets to court, let him defend himself. Let government put his lawyers there to fight it. Do you understand? And when we do that, you discover that people, already know there are laws on ground that are being enforced. And people play by the rule. When we're growing up, we never believed that Nigerians would drive with their seatbelt on. We never believed it until that law started being enforced. Very simple. You don't need to make any extra law. You understand that? Of road safety to get people to do that. Just enforce the one on ground. Now, people don't even remember there's any law about the seatbelt. Once you enter into your car, the first thing that comes to your mind is your seatbelt. You understand that? That's what the law does. It creates culture of peace, but within a space of freedom. When laws begin to limit people's movement, limit people's ability to express themselves, limit people's ability to relate with one another, then you are dealing with our humanity. And that's a problem.
Thank you very much, Pastor Emmanuel. We're glad to have you on Sarah TV.